Hey there, beginner guitarists. It's Tobes here from thguitarist.com. We're going to look at the beginnings of guitar playing, which is usually chords in this area. I'm not going to show you the chords necessarily. I'm going to show you some techniques and exercises to help you practice them and just to get your hands moving a little bit better. I do remember having issues with playing these chords. It feels awkward and very uncomfortable, but you get used to it. So here's a few ideas on how I approach and how I teach my beginner students how to approach playing. Now, unfortunately, playing the guitar in this position is probably one of the hardest. And up here, not so bad because our hand naturally sort of falls one finger per fret around the 9th fret. Here, we sit like this and it's a bit uncomfortable, but it does take time. What I want to first point out is keeping your thumb behind the neck, not up too high, not down too low, roughly around the middle. You can probably see it poking out the top a little bit there. The reason is it lets your fingers move around a little bit easier. If you're like this, grabbing the neck like a baseball bat, it makes your hand just, I don't know, just feels weird. It's uncomfortable and you can't do as much. You can't stretch as far and it just doesn't feel cool. If you've been learning like this, it is hard to make the transition to move your thumb down, but I guarantee you'll play better in the long term if you make that change. Okay, so here's one idea. Here is an E major chord. What you can do is play these chords. Most of them tend to use 3 fingers. Do it with your last 3 as well and practice between those, changing the 3 fingers, because most of the time we get used to playing with these 3 fingers. Then these ones get neglected, or especially those 2, and they're the weakest, stupidest fingers we have. So it's good to try and get them early. I wish I was doing this early. I've been playing for over 20 years and I still definitely feel like these 2 fingers have been on holiday for at least 15 of those years. So it's a great idea if you're playing any chord. It doesn't, a G chord's a bit different because you're using 4 fingers, but any of the 3 finger chords, use your last 3 fingers as well. This isn't a fun exercise, but it will make you play better in the long run, and things that you will learn in, down the track, a couple of months or a few years away, will be so much easier if you do this kind of exercise. You can play songs using these fingerings instead, rather than using your first 3. Your first 3, once you get comfortable, swap it around. So that's one, using your last 3 for those kind of open chords. The next thing is practicing moving as I call it block movement, because it's like our fingers. If you have a chord, for instance, like E major to an A minor, you move your fingers in a block. So it's the same exact fingering position for both of the chords. So there's no point in taking one off at a time and then putting them all back separately. Move them as a block. That's a lucky chord change. We don't get a lot of those very often. The next step of that is maybe if there's 1 finger that can stay, or 2 fingers that can stay on the strings between chords. We are unfortunately unlucky. Unlike piano players, they hit a chord, press on the pedal, and it rings out. We don't have that luck with this instrument. So if you can leave fingers down, leave them down. It will make chord changing easier and smoother, and the sound can continue a little bit between chord changes. So for instance, a C chord to an A minor chord, I only actually have to move my 3rd finger. So these 2 have stayed there. With my younger kids, I call this sticky fingers. For some reason they like it. So my fingers are stuck here because they're the sticky fingers. So here we go. C major to an A minor. 1 finger movement. Sometimes when you're learning, it can be a mental thing. So you want to move your third finger, but for some reason your second finger moves, or your fourth finger, or every finger other than the one you want to move. It's as simple, you can touch that finger, and for some reason something goes off in the brain, and the brain says, oh, that's the one, and it makes it easier to move. If that's what you need to do, go for it. Whatever helps. So we have, using the last three fingers, and then we have block movement or sticky fingers, if you're a kid or just a childish adult like myself. Alright, what else is there? There's other exercises. I used to do things like practicing my hammer-ons for chords. The pull-offs don't work, and you'll find out why. So if I'm playing a C chord, I approach each note that my finger is, I approach each string that a finger is touching from an open string, and I hammer on that finger. And it gives you a little waterfall kind of effect. So for a C chord, I start on my A string, open, hammer on my third finger. Then I do the same thing, open fourth string, hammering on the note. So you get that kind of sound. Some chords will sound better than others, but it's just an exercise. If it sounds cool and musical, by all means, use it. You hear it, it's a bit more interesting when you're strumming chords. If I'm playing something like... something like that, rather than just... nothing wrong with that, but you can make it a bit more interesting. Oh, I've got an itchy nose, by the way. So, I'm losing my mind a bit today. Okay, three things. Last three fingers for chords, once you've got your first three a bit more sorted out. Sticky fingers and little hammer-on ideas. The pull-offs don't necessarily work. If I go... doesn't quite sound as good. You can use pull-offs like... context, pulling away to an open string, to the next, for the C to the A minor, I pulled off to C down to the A, so it's the root note of the A minor chord, or little melodies. So you have those ideas that you can put into your practice, and you can apply them to songs as well. So if you're learning a song that just has simple open chords, which you should be if you're a beginner, you can then apply these little ideas. So that's it for this lesson. I will do more beginner chord stuff for the next lesson, possibly next week, I guess. So enjoy it, subscribe if you want more of these lessons and you don't want to miss out. Yeah, I'll keep doing a lot of beginner stuff, and hopefully you'll learn a lot, and we'll go through everything to make you a super guitar genius and conquer the world or something like that. Cool. Alright, take it easy, and I will see you next time. Subscribe, like, yeah, do that next time.